Well, following a 6-1 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Montreal Canadiens have now allowed 4 or more goals in 4 of their last 6, and they have now recalled 21-year-old goalie prospect Jacob Fowler. However, head coach Martin St. Louis would not say when Fowler would make his first start.
I understand you're not confirming that Fowler is going to play, but if he does play, is it not a move out of desperation?
I don't think we'll ever do anything in desperation. You know, somebody who's desperate, it's because he's not calculating, doesn't have a plan. I think his body of work down there, you know, I think is throughout his young career, you know, he's always played on big stages, and he's done really well this year.
That music means it's time for me to walk over to the other side of the expansive and futuristic Studio 9 here at the TSN campus in Scarborough, Ontario, for a little segment we like to call Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gaunce, with our newest NHL analyst, Cameron Gaunce. He's right over here. Hey, Cam, how you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Great to see you, my friend. Martin St. Louis, some interesting comments there. Little defensive, perhaps. But if it's not a move out of desperation, what do you make of the move to bring up Jacob Fowler at this particular moment in time?
Now, it's not because he intimidated me in that clip by how he talked to that reporter, but I don't see it as a move of desperation either, because he's a member of the organization.
Right.
You want to make sure you put yourself and your team in the best position possible. And if you have a goalie that's currently not on your roster, but that's going to give you the best chance to win, you call him up. It happens all the time. Like when I was with Pittsburgh and with Wilkes-Barre, they called up Gensel. There was no injury to bring him up. He was just playing so well that they thought he could help their team, and he did help the team. And it's going to happen from time to time. And the other unintended consequence from this could be Montembeault and Dobish are all of a sudden a bit uncomfortable with their positioning. They might have to start thinking about things a bit differently and working not harder, but maybe a bit smarter and figuring out, well, maybe this kid could take my spot. And they might have to then all of a sudden dial in their game a bit more.
Let's talk about the Calgary Flames. You and I were just talking about them off camera. It's such a fascinating team. They go down 4-0. They fight back to make it 4-3. You can see the will is absolutely there, but when it comes to the standings, they're kind of in no man's land, not close to the postseason, drifting toward the bottom of the pack, potentially a high draft pick. From a player's mindset, you know, what do you think? Take us inside that dressing room right now. What's the mindset of this group right now?
I think this mindset has to be, it's us against the world. Every athlete always wants to try to find that little bit of extra motivation. And it's easy for this team because no one thinks they're going to do it. Everyone has them written off already. Everyone thinks that they should just go ahead with the season. Let's tank, get Gavin McKenna on the team. So that's perfect. For guys like Nazem Kadri, Blake Coleman, Michael Backlund, they want this because now it's just more fuel to their fire. It's able to bring the team that much close together. As you said, they're fighting every night, tooth and nail, to get the best they can out of this group. They're playing for their coach, Ryan Huska, and they want to make sure that they're doing everything they can. And now more process, more conversations like we're having, it's just going to fuel them. Now, they don't care what I have to say, but for the most part, they're going to care and see what the media says, and that's just going to fuel them.
I think the Vancouver Canucks need a little bit of fuel because they are dead last currently in the NHL standings, and the Quinn Hughes trade rumors, Cam, as you know, they've been swirling every day. Head coach Adam Foote says that the coaches and the players find it difficult to ignore it.
They obviously hear it, like you said. I think when I've been around things like that, you're not talking about it. You're not, you know, you're trying not to think about it, but it's there. And you can feel it certain days more than others. And it probably affects some players more than others. But like I said, I give them a lot of credit for the way they handle it, coming to work, coming to try to win hockey games and do their job.
I got so much to ask you about here. First of all, he was a former defense partner of yours. Let's just talk about that right off the top. What was it like playing defense with that guy? Because he's just a monster.
He's exactly that. He was a monster. My biggest thing that I remember from him was in practice one time, he got beat, and he got beat kind of bad, and he was supposed to go next in the drill. I was supposed to go next in the drill. I get a tap on my back, move up, I'm going again. And when he went that next time against the player, I don't know if he even brought a stick with him because all he did was take the player down for embarrassing him. And that's kind of just how he carried himself. He wanted to make sure he was never being taken advantage of, and he was making sure that everyone knew he was there to compete. And that's the way his team's competing. Unfortunately, you talked about last time with the will of the Calgary Flames.
Yeah.
The Canucks clearly have the will. They just don't seem to have the skill to match that will, and it's affecting them night in, night out.
And, you know, going back to what Adam Foote said there, and you were talking to me about this off camera, it's so interesting to hear how honest he is. It's almost like he's still a player. Like, he doesn't even sound like a coach.
No coach speak at all. Someone has to get him aside and say, hey, here's a book of cliches. Here's a bunch of Bill Belichick interviews. Let's watch these, and I want you to repeat them. You don't have to wear the hoodie, but let's at least learn some of these and start throwing these out instead.
Like, do you think, first of all, if you're management, is it almost like Adam Foote said too much there? Because a lot of coaches would just be like, we don't pay attention to what the media says. I'm not even going to answer that question.
I'd say yes normally, but in this situation, because it's such a rare one, I think no, because now it's going to deflect a bit. Now it's going to be like, wow, can you, like, we're talking about what Foote said versus what the players are actually thinking about, because that's the first thing you have to talk about. I think if he continues that, management is going to have a conversation with him. But at this point, I think it's a good job deflecting. That's what he's constantly done. Earlier in the year, he talked about cashews and cigarettes in Russia. And now he's talking about this, and we're talking about these sound bites more than we're talking about the team itself. So he's deflecting the best way he can.
So let's talk about the team itself. You know, you played in the league. Take us inside that dressing room. You know, are the players talking about these trade rumors? Are some talking about them and others not talking about them?
That's a good way to put it. They're not talking about it in the collective, because when you talk about it as a whole, it makes it real. It's no longer hypothetical. It's no longer theoretical. It's real. So they don't want to talk about it as a whole, because I don't think they've got the group that really would want to. There's probably some conversations, like I heard O-Dog on Overdrive the other day talking about how if it was him, he'd be going to talk to the equipment manager or the athletic therapist to kind of get an idea of what they're hearing. And that's probably going on, and there might be a few players like, hey, did you hear what's going on? Hey, does he really know Fitzy as well as he says he does?
Right.
Those conversations are going on, I bet, but not as a whole, because then it's becomes something real.
So what's your opinion on the situation? We've got a lot of people saying, like, well, they should trade. You know, we heard Pierre LeBrun the other day say maybe their best opportunity to trade him is before the trade deadline, when they still have way more control than, say, the summer, when they might get maybe a wider pool of teams to trade to. But Pat Brisson, his agent, getting involved and saying, no, he wants to go there. You have maybe a little more chance to decide where you want to send him before the deadline.
First of all, Pierre LeBrun is clearly much smarter than I am, so I'm going to agree with him. The sooner the better. Now, I'm not saying the sooner the better that you have to get rid of him soon.
Right.
But you need to figure out what the price tag is for him. Right? You think back to when Joe Sakic traded Matt Duchene. He had a price tag, and he waited until it was fulfilled. Yes, they got some very, very good players out of that, out of draft picks, but that's what you have to do in this situation. Set the price tag, and like he said, the earlier, the better. Because if they can make a trade for him now, that means some team gets Quinn Hughes, arguably the second best defenseman in the world, for 2 postseasons. Not just the 1, 2. So even if he's not going to re-sign with you, that's still 2 postseasons where it takes a team that's a borderline playoff team to potentially a contender with how much he can bring.
Oh, stressful times in band right now, buddy. This has been great. Thanks for joining me, Cam.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. This is Cameron Gaunce. This has been Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gaunce. And by the way, the Canucks host the worst team in the Atlantic, the Buffalo Sabres, on Thursday night.